Welcome to NuttieBuddie Sports.
Okay, man. Well, let's do that. Let's talk about a mock draft here. So I like what you sort of did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over who I just picked one article from the Rookie Wire, the USA Today.com. This is the article I chose for some reason. And we're just going to go over just probably the top 10, maybe 14. We'll see how much time we have, but for sure the top 10. And we'll talk about each pick and whether we like it. Not only ourselves, it sounds like that's sort of what you did, is who would I pick here, but also if it's a good fit for the team, which I think I can speak more to in you too, as far as for the team rather than the player himself necessarily, because again, we are not college basketball gurus. Okay. totally upfront about that. Okay. So let's first talk about the number one pick. We have Jabari Smith going to the Orlando Magic. So let's just start there. What did you think of the Magic drafting Smith?
That's what I would do if I was Magic. I think he fits there. It might tamper his developing his ball handling because they have a bunch of guards, and they're still going to continue to have guys that can't shoot as their point guard. But he has and I know a lot of people put Chet there because what's his name, John Hammond, and that always go for the guys with the 9-foot wingspans and that, but Jabari fits that too. If he has that crazy athleticism that you're reading about and hard worker, they draft those type of guys too. So that's who I would pick with them. I think he could fit right in. He could even play the 4 for them, and you bump Wendell Carter to the 5. He's a little small to be a 5, but most nights he would be fine.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll let Mo Bamba go, because you think they will?
Yeah, I don't, unless he wants to come back for cheap. But I think Mo Bamba would prefer to leave too, because especially if they draft Jabari Smith, or if they draft Chet, like he's not going to start then. He's going to have a limited role, and I think he wants. I want to prove something.
No, I agree. That's why I'm kind of curious about this pick, because if the Magic take Chet, I think Mo Bamba is definitely gone. With Smith, you're right. They could move Carter to center. They have Jonathan Isaac, and they drafted Franz Wagner last year, who kind of was like a surprise as far as how good he was last year. So they got Suggs as well. They got Markelle Fultz, RJ Hampton. They have a lot of young players. So, if they were drafting need, I feel like they would go with Chet here. But I'm with you. Go with who has a hard worker and has an elite trait, right? So that would be Jabari Smith. So I'm with you. Jabari Smith, number 1. Okay, number 2, the second overall pick is by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They select in this mock draft Chet Holmgren. How do you feel about that?
This is where I would take Paolo if I was them. And I think I was reading one thing that Oklahoma City is really big on that 7th. Was it?
Oh yes, Victor
Wabonaya, Wabanero, whatever. The French guy from there is like
habanero, wasabi, vinegar.
I think if Chet goes, this is probably a better spot than him going to the Rockets at 3, frankly, for his development, because I think OKC would put in the work with him. If I was them, though, I would still take Paolo, just because I think he has the modern upside that I would want out of a guy his size.
Okay, nice. This one was challenging for me. I think I would go Chet here personally. And the only reason why is because you already got SGA, who is an all-star, right? Like SGA is an all-star type of talent. Did he make the all-star last year, or was he close? I think he was close. I don't think he made the all-star.
Yeah, I think they shut him down too soon too. He had some injuries and missed some games.
Right. And they also have Giddey. So they have like 2 really, and Giddey was excellent for his rookie year as far as where he was projected. I think he went 8th or something like that. And his assist, I picked him up in fantasy basketball because he was like triple double. So closely, like every single game, he was close to a triple double. But and so I think actually if Holmgren goes here, I think you're right. This wouldn't be a place where he can like be Kevin Durant, but I think like the 2 guards on this team would be willing to work with Chet, and he could grow as far as like a stretch type of 5 or 4, depending on where they want to play. I think he's a 5 though, right? They're not going to play him at 4.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm torn with him. Like, I don't think he can play 5 yet, but I don't think he can play 4 yet either, because I don't think he has the foot speed
Yes.
to get out there. So that, as we'll see, he's farther down on my list when I actually get to when I would.
Oh, I'm excited for this. Okay, perfect.
But I think, right, OKC, I think there are a team that would be patient. And I think OKC is the team that either next year is when they're going to cash in all those picks and be like, we got to be good, because they have so many young guys that you're going to have to start paying. Like, you're just going to keep bringing in 20-year-olds and be like, oh, sorry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, continue to win 20 games.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, because last year they were willing to trade him, it sounded like, for the number 1 pick to Detroit. I wonder if they're like willing to kind of separate with him eventually in the near future. But we'll have to wait and see. So you would pick Pablo here. I probably personally would go with Chet, just because of what I know. I think there's a high enough possibility for his ceiling that it's not like I'm giving up. Like, I think he could be elite, a defender. Well, it's hard. I don't know. I'm torn here. He is such a weird guy. Like, he's just a weird prospect, but I'm going to go with Chet. Oh, okay. Let's go Houston. They are the ones that take Pablo Banchero. So how do you feel about the Houston Rockets? So you obviously already have him off the board. Who would you pick here with your mock draft board?
So for me, I would have the Rockets taking Jaden Ivey, because I think they need that. I mean, they have where is that? I was just looking at who they drafted last year.
Green.
Yeah. But he's not like a point guard. And I think Jaden Ivey can be the point guard, or he can play off ball, because he has a really quick first step. He can attack those closeouts. His shot isn't great. But I think his skill of actually being a point guard, getting to the rim, would fit good. Paolo would fit good here too, if Chet does go to, like, but again, Jalen Green is going to dribble the ball so much. I think they empowered him maybe a little too much last year, but I think Ivy would be good here for his defense, for that secondary creation, and not just putting it all in Jalen Green's hand and letting him shoot 28 times.
Okay. I like that. Be interesting though, because that'd be a very athletic backcourt too, because they're both very athletic. I obviously, with my mock draft, I'm gonna stay, what is it called, chalk here. I'm gonna go Pablo here. I think if the Rockets get Pablo, if the Pistons, this is what annoys me about the draft, because I think the Pistons had the second best or worst record, or third, and I would have taken Pablo or Smith. And I really wanted Smith with Cade Cunningham. That's who I wanted. I wanted him so bad, because I'm like, man, that guy's going to spread the court. Him and Cade are going to work so well together. And then they get the 5th pick, which is just so depressing to me. But Pablo, I also thought would fit well with Cade, because they both are unselfish players. So they're both going to be looking to set up the teammates. And I think if Houston gets Pablo, I think that's really good for Houston, because he can be the facilitator, along with, they got that Kevin Martin as well, who's kind of a scorer. So he can be the guy that sets those guys up, him and Green. So that's who I have going 3. Okay, let's go with the 4th pick, Sacramento Kings. On this draft board, they're taking Jaden Ivey. So what do you got for 4 there, Clint?
So if the Kings don't trade this pick, and the Kings always need like some crazy upside, this is where I would take Shaedon Sharpe if I was the Kings. Forward, they have they could avoid having too many guards, like they're always worried about, since they just unload them for nothing. So I would take Shaedon Sharpe here. He could play small forward, put him, Harrison Barnes basically plays the 4 anyhow. And you just put more athleticism and more, potential on the floor with De'Aaron Fox. Maybe they'll keep good buddy Dante DiVincenzo, and they can keep Davion Mitchell. Like, you have some crazy athleticism with that one, and some upside of maybe this guy is is really the thing.
Yeah, so I'm torn here. If I'm doing a mock draft, I'd probably take Ivy here because Ivy is the potential. But if I'm going to guess, everything I hear from everything I read and everything, what the experts are saying, they love Murray. And I expect the Sacramento Kings to sort of screw it up as well. So if I personally was doing it, I probably would go Ivy here, but I'm also going to kind of like play the line where I'm going to say, I think Sacramento will take Murray here or trade back and take Murray, but I think their goal is to take Keegan Murray. So I'm going to draft in my mock draft, Keegan Murray here.
Yeah, I think so. If they can't get out of the pick, I think that's what they'll do too. They'll just be like, whatever, we'll just take the guy that we like. And, you know, probably regret it later, or he'll probably want out in 2 years anyhow. So
yeah, I don't think they're really good at developing players, honestly. So the other thing is Keegan Murray could end up being a very solid player for them. Like he like that's the one thing is he does have a high floor, which I do like. But you're right, when we're looking at Shaedon Sharpe or Ivy, like the potential is so much greater than what Keegan Murray has. So
right, if you're Keegan Murray, are you hoping that he's going to be Harrison Barnes? You know what I mean? Like you're
right.
kind of being like, okay, we're going to replace Harrison Barnes with the younger guy that we hope can be maybe as good as Harrison. That's what I get in with some of these teams where you're like, you're the Kings. You need someone that's going to be electric, someone that has potential. So I would just shoot for the ceiling on that one.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, 5. The article here has the Detroit Pistons at 5. Keegan Murray. Them taking Keegan Murray. So who do you got going 5 to Detroit?
So I'm with you. I think if he fell, Jaden Ivey would be ideal for the Pistons as that second guy with the athleticism, with the ball handling. He'll probably be gone by then. I have the Pistons, if I was 5, taking Benedict Mathurin.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's perfect for the team if you're going to let Cade Cunningham continue to develop ball handling. Mathurin can do a little of that, but he doesn't have to be a guy where you're like, oh, this guy needs the ball all the time. He can space the floor. They already have, a couple other good shooters. Killian Hayes. I mean, he's solid. No,
he's like good at everything. Like, okay, like good. I'll say good at everything but shooting, which is probably one of the most important things you need in basketball right now. So
yeah, and you figure they're probably not going to keep Jeremy Grant past this offseason. Like, I don't think they want to extend him. It doesn't sound like he's like, hey, we're gonna build with this guy. So they already have Sadiq Bey too. So if you can get another guy that's just a shooter to space for those two, that's what I would go with here at 5. Someone like that.
Yeah. So the way your draft played out, I would definitely want Mathurin at that point. Mathurin. No, I don't know why I said Mathurin. Mathurin at that point in the draft that I'm doing, I would take Ivy if he's available. Here's a question though, because this is like, let's say Ivy's taken, like, let's say, because they have, this article here, they have the 3 going off, they have Ivy. So I wouldn't take Murray if I were the Pistons, but would you take Mathurin or would you take Sharpe if you're the Pistons at 5?
In that case, I would take Sharpe because I think
me too.
Because I think the Pistons are going to hopefully resist channeling the line of trying to be too good too soon.
Mm-hmm.
They have cap space, and we'll get to it when you talk about the Pistons, but if a guy like, if Ivy is gone, and I agree with you, like Keegan Murray, I think he'll be perfectly fine. But I don't know if he's going to be like, oh, we have Keegan Murray, like, I don't think he's going to raise your floor to what you ideally want it to be. And if Shaedon Sharpe is anything and they're in Detroit, he would have the potential to develop because Cade Cunningham isn't a chucker. Sadiq Bey isn't a chucker. Like, they can work him in and work with that athleticism. He would be a perfect, let's shoot for the ceiling. If this guy is it 2 years from now, we have 3 guys that are just, we can count on.
Right. And I agree with that 100% because the Pistons tanked so that they could get a guy that you're shooting for the stars. So why would you take a guy? So if there's a potential that there's a guy at 5 that is shooting for the stars, just take him. Okay, just take him and don't think about it because you're going to be bad next year anyway. So it's not, and hopefully maybe you can get Victor Wasabi, the French guy. I don't know his last name, but
I know. I heard it twice just before we came on. I was listening to something and I'm like, I was gonna write it down, but I'm like, oh no, I'll remember it. And now I'm like, I never remember that. You're right, Victor.
Victor, I remember
Wabanero, whatever. It's something weird like that. But the dude sounds literally amazing. I've done nothing. I watched one clip and I'm like, this dude doesn't even seem real. But yeah, all these teams, because the one mock draft I looked at had Shaden Sharp falling to 10, but like all the teams before then, if you're not going to take a dude that you think could be, that good, if you, again, any of these teams should just take them. But
correct, yeah. So if it goes those four in the Pistons draft Murray, I'm going to be a little disappointed. So expect that on draft night, by the way. Name be sad. I will probably do a reaction after the draft. But anyway, let's move on to number 6. The Pacers take Benedict Mathurin, according to this pick. Who do you got 6?
This is where I have Chet going.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think, well, one, he's white, so he would fit in perfect with the Pacers. Like they need another white guy that they can count on. And I think they are likely to move Miles Turner relatively soon, but I think he would be a good guy to learn behind. They don't have, again, because I think they're going to trade Malcolm Brogdon too. You have Halliburton, Buddy Hield. He's mainly just a shooter. This is a team where if Chet got to 6 and they got rid of Miles Turner, where you could be like, all right, we'll let him explore the studio a little bit and do a few more things if you're going to unload some of these guys that are overpaid like Brogdon and Miles Turner. TJ Warren, there seems to be nothing on him. Is he coming back or not, with his injury? So I think this would be in the top 10 minus the Blazers at 7. I think would be an amazing fit too, but the Blazers wouldn't take a guy, a project like that. Right. So he's not going to fall to 6, but this is where I would put Chet.
Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna put Sharp here. I like Sharp with the Pacer needs someone like that. I think pairing him with Halliburton is sort of like similar to pairing him with Cade. I think Cade's a little better than that's probably biased though. But if he's your guy that you're growing, Shaden Sharp, explosive, potential shot creator that he could be. So I would go Sharp here on my mock draft. Okay, let's go to 7. 7, we have the Blazers, and they take Jeremy Sohan out of Baylor, 6'9" forward. What do you think of that pick, or who would you take at 7?
So if the Blazers aren't going to trade this pick, this is where they should take if Keegan Murray was still there, because he's a guy that would be solid if they're going to have to play a guy that he's not going to have to do too much. He's amazing in transition. He was an efficient scorer. He was good off the ball. Not a great playmaker, but if you're going to keep him with Dame Lillard, like he's a guy that he's a rookie, but probably wouldn't play like, a raw rookie. He would have some ability to play right now. And if they're not going to trade for Jeremy Grant, here's a guy that we can toss in and at least he's going to look competent day one.
Yep, I agree with your list if that's the way it goes. I will say that in my list, I would take Mathurin's here. Mathurin's.
Yeah, he'd be if he falls that far. That's where if he falls that far, I shouldn't say fall.
Yeah,
but he's another guy. But then again, they already have. Sounds like they're gonna decide to overpay Anthony Simon. So.
I don't like get that because he's only like, okay, so the part of the reason why, and this is why I don't like McCollum and Lillard didn't work because they were too small. And it's not like, I think McCollum's 6'2" for Anthony Simons is like 6'3". So is that the backcourt you're going to die on a hill with? It's like, what are you really changing anything? So I don't know. That's silly to me.
I would agree. And he doesn't play defense either. So, hey, let's go to a non-defensive backcourt from a non-defensive backcourt. Yeah, I don't get it either.
That's great. Okay, so if real quick question, Blazers, if let's just say for the sake of argument that the Pistons wanted the 7th pick for Jeremy Grant, would you make that trade as the Blazer? a Blazer, Portland Trail Blazers, would you want more? Or do you think that would be fair? Or would you like a different player that might be available?
So I would shoot for more if I was the Blazers, but if I have no traction and I'm really going to commit to the Damian Lillard going forward, then I would give up 7, especially if if the mock draft goes how you did, or even how I did. If you could get, yeah, I would give up 7, because I don't think any of these guys, minus Shaedon Sharpe, who would potentially be gone, has any like, this guy is going to be a star type of player. And you're like, Jeremy Grant's not a star either. But if you're going to try to convince Dame to finish his career there and, have a solid player around him, he could come in day one. You already know what Jeremy Grant is. And then, they have other assets that they can move around and at least be competent next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't know. I feel like as a Pistons fan, I might be a little biased, but my thing is like, if Keegan Murray ends up as good as Jeremy Grant does, aren't you counting that as a win at 7? Like, aren't you like, yeah, that was a great draft pick? Like, so why not get the for sure thing instead of, like we talked about before, the mystery box? But that's just sort of the way I feel.
Yeah. So. And if you're the Pistons, if you got Mathurin at 5 or Ivy at 5 or Shaedon Sharpe at 5, if you can uncork Jeremy Grant and pick up Keegan Murray at 7 and get both of those guys and be like, all right, well, you know what I mean? Like, right. I think if you're the Pistons, but I just worry the Pistons are going to get hot a little too soon with their, with trying to compete.
No, I agree. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, let's go to our 8th. Here, the New Orleans Pelicans are picking Dyson Daniels from the he played in the G League last year, 6'7" guard. Who do you got here?
That's who I had. I had him at 8. So I think, that again, if they keep this pick, it's another guy that they need some guard. So, and he's a big guy. So I should say a bigger guard wing player. Yeah,
I like it too, because he's bigger. And if he's he's playing alongside a McCollum, that can fit, that can work. Right. So it would be him. He probably won't start right away, but I'm thinking like in like 2 years, like him, McCollum, you have Ingram and
400-pound Zion,
and who's that one guy that's just a freak defender? Why can't I think of his name? Herb Jones. And then you have Herb Jones too. I like that could be a big lineup with McCollum on the floor. You can play big with McCollum on the floor. So yeah, I have Daniels here too. So let's go to 9. 9 on this mock draft has the San Antonio Spurs taking Shaedon Sharpe here. So Shaedon fell to 9 on their draft board. Who do you got 9?
This is where I have the Spurs should take Shaedon Sharpe if he's there. Taking Johnny Davis. Yep.
That's funny.
I just think he's the type of guy that has some upside that they would just work well with. And he would, coming from Wisconsin and having a non-creative offense and going to a team that has a non-creative offense, I think it would, you'd feel at home. I don't know what it is. Just even watching him, I'll watch some Wisconsin, like that dude should play for the Spurs somehow.
No, I agree. I have Davis going there. It seems like he could be really nice alongside of Murray. And like you said, he just kind of seems like a Spur. Good scorer. Do you think he's going to work? Because it's funny. I was watching him in the tournament games, and I wasn't 100% impressed with him. But I know that like college is hard when you're a shooter, just because it's like, everything's congested. The rules are different. They can follow every play, all that stuff. So, I mean, like as a Wisconsin fan, do you think he's going to work in the NBA?
See, part of me thinks he has like such untapped upside that he's going to look stupid because Wisconsin plays, like it's 1955, the way they play basketball. It's painful to watch at times. Right. So is that the guy he is, and he kind of looks slow, or is that just because the Badgers were like, here you go, dude, we're just going to put some oafy white guys around you, and nothing else, and be like, hey, go do it. And, those guys can space the floor, but none of them had quick triggers. So I'm not going to compare him to Dwayne Wade, because Dwayne Wade showed flash. So did Johnny Davis. But, like if you watch Dwayne Wade in college, minus a few games, you didn't think he would be Dwayne Wade that you saw in the NBA. So I don't know if it's the Wisconsin system that just made him look like average at times. So he's really tough. He's one of those guys that I think when you get to this range, if you work him out and you see that something hidden in there that just didn't come out because of the college game, maybe he has a lot more to him.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I only seen a couple tournament games. I think it might've been the last two. And I was just like, I'm not really impressed with this guy, but it is hard because college is such a different sport. I should say a different sport. It played so differently is what I meant. It's a different sport. What a dumb comment. That's why you guys tune in for that type of analysis right there. Oh my word. Okay, let's go to the 10th pick. That'll be done by the Washington Wizards. This is where this mock draft has Johnny Davis going to Washington to play alongside of Bradley Beal. Who do you got at 10, Clint?
Yeah, I don't think they would take him. I had him 10th on my list. I didn't double check who had the 10th pick because now it's going to sound stupid. But I had Jalen Duren, and he's just a giant center, like awesome on defense. But they have Porzingis now, so I doubt that they're going to play Porzingis I guess he doesn't like to play center, but I feel that would be kind of wasted at the 10th pick. But just his incredible defense is why I had him at this spot. But yeah, I guess the Wiz could take him. They do crazy things anyhow, but it would be kind of weird to have a guy who can't shoot great defensive center with Porzingis, because Porzingis really can't play on the wing either. So yeah, the mock draft I used had Shaedon Sharpe falling to 10 and going here, which would be amazing for the Wizards as they trade Bradley Beal. But yeah, that would be another crazy one. Some of these guys fall to 10. So
yeah, man, that would be interesting. Sohan is who I have here, the 6'9" forward. He's a defensive, really good defender. He could be elite at that position. It's his offensive game that needs a little work, but he could play the 4 while Porzingis plays the 5. I think that could work out pretty good. And given this might be an interesting individual to go to the Spurs. I was thinking like kind of the Kawhi model where he's going to be an elite defender and you just give him time to work on his offensive game. But I'm going to go with Sohan going to the Wizards.
Sure. Can't complain with that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, do you want to stop here at 10 then?
Yeah, I only went through 10.
Okay, then we're stopping at 10.
Yeah. After that, I started getting through guys where I'm like, all right, well, anything I'm going to tell you, I'm just literally going to read it off of a page right now.
No, we'll just stop there. Yeah. No, one guy I'm kind of interested to see where he goes is AJ Griffin. A lot of people think that he got off an injury and he's not as athletic as he was since he's gotten off that injury. So I wonder after a year removed or 2 years removed from that injury, if some of that athleticism will come back. But he was one of the best 3-point shooters, percentage wise, and he's 6'6", 6'8", somewhere in between there. And I'm like, if the Pistons trade Grant to the Hornets, that 13th pick will be used. And I'm like, I might actually like them to take a shot at him or Duren. Duren could be the other guy because they kind of need a big man. I like Isaiah Stewart, but he's too small to be the big guy all the time. He's a situational big.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the mock draft, guys. Now we're going to go into our wish list for our particular teams. Thanks so much for listening to Clint and I break down the first 10 picks of each of our mock drafts. Let us know where we got it right and where we got it wrong, who you hope your favorite team gets in this week's NBA draft. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you'd like to listen to the rest of our podcast, click on one of the links down below. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys soon.